We're going to now begin the final unit of new information for this particular module, Module 4 I think it is, Health Psychology and Mind Body Medicine. And once again, it's kind of good news, bad news. I know a lot of stuff because this is the field that I do my teaching in and my research. What I've tried to do is I'm going to try to give you the Reader's Digest condensed version of what goes on in this field and tie back to obviously the discussion board question in terms of mind-body things. So I'm going to start off, and if you have your book around 440, 443, probably the first person that did significant research to really advance the field of just this mind-body thing and what happens in terms of mind, body, and stress. We know there is a link. In health psychology, we believe there is a link between mind and body, so that if you are mentally fatigued, that your body probably undergoes some changes here, and we're going to look at exactly what those changes are in this unit. Hans Selye, 1956, came up with a theory, an idea called the General Adaptation Syndrome, and I'm going to ask that you summarize this. Your book goes through a lot of details here. I don't necessarily need you to go through all the details, but kind of get the basic idea down. And according to Selye, you go through three basic stages during this General Adaptation Syndrome. The first stage is the alarm stage, where you notice that something has gone wrong in your life. So there's an emergency of sorts. And when there's an emergency of sorts, your body responds to that stressful situation with arousal. A lot of energy gets sent to increase your respiration, as it says, more oxygen, kind of that flight or fight response, if you will. Cannon came up with the flight or fight response, where you have all this energy to run away. Some of those TV shows where they show a kid is in a car and the car starts rolling down the hill, the mother sees it and can run and catch it. Your hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis kicks in, and you basically have more epinephrine and norepinephrine. That axis is very important. Goes from the hypothalamus and the limbic system, if you will. You say, oh, there's something wrong, there's some danger. It activates your pituitary gland. Your pituitary gland releases substances that go down to your adrenal glands, your lungs, and other structures to say, hey, increase activity here. So epinephrine, norepinephrine is released. Cortisol is another substance that is released, and all these allow you the energy for the flight or fight response during the alarm stage. All of us have had that before, certainly. Stage 2 is called the resistance stage, and best kind of summarized in terms of kind of the 24-hour red alert system, where your body is basically, after the alarm stage, is on for continued periods of time. Now, 30, 40 years ago, when you had an alarm stage, usually the stress would calm down. But now what we're finding more and more with the pressures and stresses of our society, that people are really on alert and in this resistance phase for many times a prolonged period of time. You can think about your own life and all the stresses you face. According to this, that all the things that started occurring in the alarm stage continue, and that this is not a good thing. Your body continues to put out those hormones, blood glucose concentrations are higher, all these hormones are released, and in the long term, the resistance phase is going to get all that energy still out, but actually it's not so useful for the body anymore. And that leads to the final stage, which is called the exhaustion phase, or the exhaustion stage, that many times if you're stressed out for long periods of time, you end up getting sick, because so much energy is diverted from the immune system, and things like cortisol actually suppress the immune system. So if you're on flight or fight for such a long period of time in the resistance phase, eventually your body's going to end up caving in, because it's just not balanced well. So those were Selye's ideas. Now the book has more details. If you want to share some of that, it is fine. But I'm just simply asking you to kind of summarize the main idea between Selye and the General Adaptation Syndrome. Well, now the other thing in terms of general information I wanted to share with you, a little different than that, but the government is now officially interested in trying to do scientific studies on some of these mind-body interventions. We shared the Selye stuff in terms of the stress response, but in a more general way, the National Institute of Complementary and Alternative Medicine is now trying to do scientific experiments that if you think you have something that works for stress or relaxation or so forth, you can get funding from CAM to actually figure out in terms of a clinical trial if it's useful. The reason CAM came into existence is the government was sick and tired of all these alternative medicine products being developed for the market, and they never went through any scientific testing. So now CAM is out. What I would ask you to do is go to the website that I've indicated there and see if you can read and summarize in your own words what the purpose of CAM is, and then to even look up the different types of CAM. Hopefully you'll find things like the mind-body things we look at, stress and relaxation. There could be manipulation techniques, acupuncture, massage. They're looking a lot at that. Products, alternative medicines, and so forth. So see if you could summarize that for the purpose of this little paper.